And one of our goals for this conference, and we're calling it Next Opportunity at Work now, is that we really want to stimulate your thinking about using your current skills and developing new skills, or even using the skills that you possess already in different ways for other kinds of jobs. And that's a lot of what you're getting exposed to here today. Now, if there's anyone that is really an example of that kind of ingenuity, it's our keynote speaker, Tamara Steele. She's a fabulous example of somebody who cast a wide net to parlay her great success into new ventures. And her full bio is in the program on page 4 if you want to take a look at that. And you may have already met her if you went to the Ask the Expert panel workshop, which we'll be delivering again this afternoon. She's excelled on numerous fronts as an attorney, as an executive coach, a life coach, motivational speaker, and author. Her book, Mastering the Art of Success, and her other book, The Blueprint, that we were just raffling off, 10 Steps to Building a Better Life, are both great sellers and great information for anyone who's looking into what's going on with their own careers. And so without further ado, I want to bring Tamara Steele to you. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm not sure if this one is on or if this one's on. This one sounds like it's on. Well, first off, I just want to thank those that have put this event together for just inviting me, having me here. I'm always excited about having an opportunity to speak to people about a topic that I'm passionate about. And one of the things that I was asked to come and address was to talk about things that prevent people from moving forward in life. And so I thought what would be good as the starting point is to talk about where you are currently in life, where you're going, and then talk about identifying those things that are getting in the way of you moving forward. And before you even delve into that, some of the things that you have to look at is, what do you really want to do in your life? Like this lifetime. Like not just now, but right now. Oftentimes, I think people don't reflect deep enough about that. And so what I'm encouraging you to do today, this is not going to just be a keynote, but somewhat keynote/workshop, because I want you to really think about, why am I here today? Why did you even sign up for this conference? I was just talking to Inette, and she shared with me within 24 hours, it was sold out. 250 people signed up. So what made you sign up today? Was it you wanting a change in your life? Was it you wanting a change in your career? What type of transition do you have in mind? And I think what's really key, I always tell people, you have the power to change your life. You're in control of that. You are the person that is designing your life. You can call it the architect, the producer, the designer, whatever you want to call it. But that power is with you. And oftentimes, I think we can be in situations, i.e. jobs, for such a long period of time that we forget that we have the power. It's almost like we lose our power. And sometimes it takes another person on the outside, perhaps a coach, perhaps a motivational speaker like myself, to remind you that it's in you. It's just waiting to come out. Perhaps it's just been in there dormant for a while. Oftentimes, I find that people like to stay within what I call their comfort zone. We don't move out of our comfort zone until we get kicked out of our comfort zone, right? We get downsized, capsized, laid off, right? Something happens that just pushes us out. And it's only when we're pushed out that we really start seeing the growth. It's almost, think of a mother who's, nesting and sitting on her little chicks or what have you, and then it's time for them to get outside of the nest. she's pushing them out, right? They may not want to go out, but at some point they have to go out there and fly, right? Well, we're the same way. Sometimes it takes something to push us to get to that next level. And it may not be comfortable. At that time, that adversity or that really challenging situation that we're going through, we may want that to end, but that may be actually the blessing on the other side, if that kind of makes sense. If you weren't pushed or challenged, you're not going to grow. I often say that what you're called to do in life, your purpose, oftentimes you discover it in pain. So it can be birthed in the pain. It can be birthed in the adversity. You may have never taken that leap of faith had you not experienced what you experienced. I have a young lady that I was working with coaching, and she unfortunately lost her son to a tragic car accident who was 19. And it was devastating for her. And she was just like, I don't know, it's my only son. I don't know how I'm going to get over this. And she was sinking deeper into a depression. And one of the things that I put out to her was that, have you ever considered working with other mothers who have gone through or are going through exactly what you're going through? Because it's in your story, in your testimony, that you can bring about healing in their life. And what was interesting about that, she was like, God, I never thought about it, but you know what? Lately, I've been meeting other people who have experienced the same thing. And I was like, that's not a coincidence. That you meet two other people that also have lost a child to a tragic accident. So sometimes things in life happen for a reason. I believe personally there are no coincidences. And maybe that's part of your calling. Perhaps, that could develop into some form of a nonprofit, if you will, supporting women and helping them, empowering them to deal with whatever, challenging situation they went through that's similar to yours. But I think what's key is that every experience that you have, it happens for a reason. And you have to ask yourself, why am I experiencing this right now? What am I supposed to get out of this experience? What's the lesson, right? Because there's a lesson in everything that you experience. Even right now, why are you here today? How are you going to use this experience today, from the various workshops to this talk right now? How are you going to take that once you leave, once this is over, and apply it to your life? And that's something to reflect on. Because a lot of times we come to conferences, we take great notes, we get inspired, and then we leave and we go back to our ordinary life. But I believe that we are all ordinary people, but we're called to do extraordinary things. And it requires us to really reflect on, what am I good at? What's calling me? What speaks to me? And oftentimes I tell people, they say, well, I don't know what my calling is. It's not that you don't know, it's just that you haven't allowed yourself to take enough time to do enough, searching within to find what it is. We live in such a fast-paced world. Everything is quick, everything is microwave, that we don't give ourselves time to reflect and really discover whatever it is that we're called to do. It's nice to have a career, but it's even better when that career is actually your calling. And I often tell people, I pursued the practice of law for a number of years, and that was my calling, and it served me well. And if I had to do it over again, I would, because it's a part of this journey. But my calling is being able to reach people, connect with them, and help them become their personal best, both personally and professionally. Helping them to really find out, what are you good at? What are you supposed to do before you leave this planet? What are the things that are possibly holding you back from getting there? That's what I'm called to do. And in the process of discovering that, did it happen overnight? No, it didn't happen overnight. I was practicing law full time, I vividly remember, and I went to a conference that a girlfriend of mine told me, you know, you really should attend Landmark Education. And I said, what's Landmark? And she says, well, they work with ordinary people and they help them become extraordinary. And I said, well, that's great, but I don't have time. And she says, well, it would be great if you joined me. I said, well, no, you have to go because your job has required you to go, but I don't really have time. Well, fast forward a year later, I decided, you know what, I think I will take that. And so I took the course, and in my involvement through that course, one of the leaders of the course said, are you a coach? I said, what's a coach? Like, I was thinking sporting event or something. And so he explained to me what a life coach was with an executive coach, and I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, you know, I've been doing that all my life. I said, I didn't realize that there was actually a title for that. And he says, well, you really should explore that and look into that because I think you would be really good at it. So he planted the seed, and I started doing my homework. And actually, this is actually a good point because in the breakout session, someone asked, how do you pursue what you're doing as a career and then start your side business? Well, one of the things that I start doing, you first do your homework. You do the research. So I wanted to find out all I could find out about coaching. Who's out there? Who's the guru of coaching out there? What are they doing? Is there some form of certification? How can I find a program that would allow me to continue to practice law, but also do a night program? And if I got certified, was it with an incredible, schooling, right? And so I did all of this, and it didn't happen overnight. It was a process, if you will. But in the course of doing that, I finally finished and got certified. And then guess what? People actually wanted me to coach them. And I thought, how about that? I don't believe there are any coincidences. And so I was able to start coaching people in my warm market, which were attorneys. And I thought, this is really good because, as some of you probably already know, the legal environment is very toxic. And folks do need to be coached about just some basic things like, how do you deal with people and just be really real? How do you have compassion for people? How do you show humility for people, even in this toxic work environment? And once I started doing that and working with people who were in my professional circle, I told myself that if I could start breaking into the corporate market and get some corporate clients, I would take that leap of faith and go out there and, hang out my shingles, so to speak. Be careful what you ask for. Because before I know it, that's what started happening for me. And it was a blessing in disguise because I wasn't sure if I was actually ready or not, but I had been in preparation mode. I think that's what's key. I didn't allow the process to take over what I was currently doing, but I allowed myself to progress along in doing that. And what I found in the process, I learned so much more about myself and was able to see how I could go to another level in the process of helping someone else go to another level. And one thing I would encourage you to do, when you step out there and pursue what it is that you really want to do, you find out, guess what? It's not about you. Your gifts, skills, and talents that you have, and some of you may or may not have tapped into those, it's not just for you. It's for you to take it out there and share your gifts, skills, and talents with someone else. Impact someone else's life, whether it be your friends, your family, or your community, or even worldwide. Have an impact, global impact. I recently, I won't even say recently, a few years back, I started a women's group, and it was a coaching circle, which started very small, just invited women. In fact, I started in my home. I would invite women to my home, and I would coach them in a group setting. Well, that kind of grew, and from that, now, today, it's called Global Women's Coaching Connection, because I'm getting women from all over who want to be a part of a community where they can actually grow. It's inviting, it's a safe space. They feel that they can talk about just anything, but get the support that they need along their journey, personally and professionally. We all need that. And it also allows women to come to an environment so they can be transparent. Because how many times are we in environments where we feel that we really can't be our true selves? And then we get to a point where we're so used to doing whatever it is that we're doing, we don't even realize that we're not even being real. Because we've been in that space for so long. But it's important for you to find an environment that's going to nurture your growth, wherever it may be. Coming to a conference like this is key because that's nurturing your growth. Find other conferences, associations, that will help to further you along your journey. Association is really key. I always tell people that your acceleration in life has a lot to do with your association. It is who you know. People can help you. But it's not so much just knowing them, it's about forming relationships with people, building rapport with people, so they really understand and get to know, who are you? What do you have to offer? What's your gift? How can you make a difference? What can you contribute? And so when you start talking to people, you start seeing, wow, there's a lot that I do have to offer. And it can be a very powerful exchange. You've probably heard the saying, you are the sum total of the 5 people you associate with the most. Yeah. So if you're not happy about where you are, start really reflecting on who you're associating with. I wrote an article, I think Inette actually commented on it when she had contacted me to speak. It was about association, but my title of the very short blurb was, who is bringing down your average? So if you have 5 people you're associating with, right, you are that sum total. Who's bringing down that average? When you are networking, and this is a perfect segue into networking, you want to network up. And that's not to say that the people that are sidelined are not worthy of you networking with them, but you want to talk to people who are where you want to be. So how do you do that? You make it a point to go to different events where those people are. Case in point, I wanted to meet Les Brown. He's a motivational speaker, and it was Guru at the time. This was years back. I found out he was in town, and he was going to be speaking in a certain event. Guess what? I was there. And not just there in the room, I'm going to be in the front of the room, because I'm going to make sure that I'm able to meet with you and that you know who I am. But that's what you have to do. You want to know and meet the people that are at the top of their game, especially if you're aspiring to be where they are. And interesting enough, people like sharing with you what they do. Set up informational talks, interviews. We talked about this on the panel. Talk to people. Ask them if you could come and, take them to lunch. Take them out, coffee, tea, whatever. Whatever window of time they give you on their calendar, take it. And have questions for them, thought-provoking questions, where it shows that you actually took time to reflect on what it is that you want and some of the questions that are still in your head about pursuing wherever it is that they already have arrived. And interesting enough, those individuals, they may introduce you to someone else. I had a situation where I was going out for this one position and met a gentleman who had referred me to interview for the position. Go and interview, meet a gentleman that's on the panel, start talking to him. We kept in contact. Then he introduced me to someone. I mean, it was just, you couldn't have pieced it together better. But what I got from all of that is that you have to be open and receptive at all time and be present. You never know where that one introduction that someone is giving you, where that's going to take you. And oftentimes what I find is that people will go to networking events and say, if this is your business card, they just hand it to the person and just hand out cards. It does nothing. And then they probably go home. Remember back in the day, we don't have it now. We had Rolodexes and you had all those cards, right? Some of us had big cardboard boxes and we just put all these cards in. And we did nothing with these names. That's not networking. That's wasting money. You could have saved the card, saved a tree, right? Networking is building relationships. I'm a high fan of LinkedIn, utilizing it, reaching out to people, posting certain things that you're doing, relevant things, right? Everything posted is not relevant. When you have time to actually post something, let it have some meaning to it. We get enough junk, right? Information overload. And if you're constantly putting stuff out, even if you think it's good, but it's almost like you're throwing up on the computer, like daily, after a while, people will just pass you up. They don't even want to read what you have to say, right? So make it worth reading, but also use some discretion there as to how often you're going to put stuff out there, right? And as you're going through this process of building your network, discovering, what it is that you really want to do, I would encourage you to find what I call an accountability partner. Don't go through this journey of discovering what you really want to do by yourself. An accountability partner is someone that's going to hold you accountable to what you say you want to do. Not what they say, but what you say you want to do. So those mornings or those times that you are not feeling like perhaps doing, say, some research into your field or what have you, that accountability partner is going to call you and say, "Oh, hi, Tamara. How's it going?" "Oh, fine." "Well, what are you working on?" "Well, nothing right now." "Well, didn't you say that Thursday was your day that you were going to do some research about whatever it is," right? You need someone to check into. Because oftentimes, I think we play what I call, and if you notice I included myself, what I call the justification game, okay? We can justify anything why we don't need to do something to ourselves if there's no one else to report to, right? We play it all the time. But when you have an accountability partner, it's more challenging to play that game. And we don't want to do that because it slows our growth down. You want someone to call you out and say, "You know what? Last time we spoke, you said you were going to do X, and I was just wondering why you haven't gotten to the point of doing that. And how can I support you in getting to where you want to be?" Because you want people to hold up their commitment. Commitment is doing the thing you said you were going to do long after the feeling has left you. Long after you get all excited about it, right? When you're no longer feeling it, commitment is doing it, even when you don't feel like it. And so you want an accountability partner to hold you to the commitment, and the commitment is to yourself, to be a better you, and what that better you looks like, and realizing you have the power to design what that better you looks like. One of the things I also wanted to touch on with you, you're going to experience a lot of roadblocks. Some of the roadblocks are tangible, like people that get in the way, people that are negative, people that are toxic. And it's important for you to identify who those people are. Everybody does not need to be in the VIP section of your life. Some people, we give them front row, and they should be in the balcony. Yeah. Some people don't even make it into the theater, right? Really. But we need to really identify that and be okay with it. Set boundaries for people. Don't let people take up your time. You don't get time back. Greatest asset. Get more money, but you can't get more time. And why is it that we give people quality time, but they're giving us negativity? We have a choice. Why do we engage in arguments with people? We have a choice. Do I have to stay on the phone and listen to that? No, I have a choice, right? That time could be utilized in bettering myself. I could be putting something in me positive versus negative, right? So that's one of the intangible things. Tangible rather, but intangible. What are some of the intangible things that get in our way? Fear, right? Fear is a barrier that gets in our way and impacts us from moving forward in life. It could be any type of fear, fear of the unknown, fear of success, fear of failure, you name it. We all have different fears. But I always say face your fears and do it anyway. And if you feel that you can't face it on your own, partner with someone who can help you through that process so that you don't have to stay stuck or paralyzed in one position forever, realizing again that you have the power to change that. It's funny, I was thinking of a young lady who, Rhonda Britton, she's actually a life coach. And she has a program called Fearless Living. And she talks about individuals going into what she calls stepping out of their comfort zone, but going into what she calls the die zone. And the die zone is that zone where you feel if you do whatever it is that you're supposed to do, you feel like you're going to die. But really, you're not. It's just that feeling that you get. But the greatest growth that you will experience is when you step out there, when you feel like, oh my God, can I really do this? That's when you really stretch and you really grow. And so you want to start identifying those things that block you, again, whether it's tangible people, right? Or whether it's intangible things such as fear, some form of emotion. And that's just one example. Oftentimes, I think about children because I think they're the best example of just being fearless. Because it's like the older you get, the more fears that you get, right? There's certain things that you did as a teenager or, even young in middle school age, you would never have done it as an adult. You're like, oh no, there's no way. Because your mind starts thinking of all the things that could happen. But I think sometimes we need to get back to that inner child, that child that dreamed about what do I want to be. Never think it's too late to do something. I always use my husband's grandmother who's made her transition, but at 95, she got her doctorate degree and was so happy to have her graduation and wear a cap and gown. I'm like, really? So when people tell me, well, I'm too old to go back to school, I'm like, really? You're telling the wrong person, right? That's just not going to work. Another thing, just quickly, and I know time is moving, but in terms of intangibles, negative self-talk. We do that so often. You might be doing it right now. You might say, well, I don't talk to myself. Yeah, you're talking to yourself right now. But negative self-talk, what are you telling yourself every day about yourself? Are you telling yourself that you have everything within you to be great? Because you do. Or are you saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm too old for this position, they're not going to consider me? All of these things that are negative programming, it's time to reprogram that. Those things work as barriers in terms of you moving forward in life, what you're called to do this lifetime. And I always say, not just now, but right now. You can make a decision just like that. You have that power. And sometimes you feel like you don't, it's only because you don't have the support system around you to encourage you, to let you know that you have it within you. And so just in closing, I just want to do what I call an affirmation. And so if you can all repeat after me. I will become a new me and walk boldly into my future. Thank you.